In the age of mobile notifications, device synchronization, online collaboration, it's just too easy to get distracted and overwhelmed by your tasks. So today we'll embrace some digital minimalism and we'll explore a personal Kanban that will help you stay focused and balanced without the overwhelm. So I've created my personal Kanban using a bit of a vintage tool, a blast from the past really. It's Stickies on a Mac. But as usual, you can follow along with any tool you want. The important bit here are the ideas behind the system. So let's get started. And let's define first what Kanban is. So a Kanban is just a very simple way to show the tasks that you want to complete and the stage they're at. The simplest Kanban board has 3 columns really: to do, doing, and done. The idea here is that you add any task that you want to complete to the to do column, and then you pick one or maybe a few that you want to work on, you move them across to the doing column, and you start working on them. And when you complete them, you move them across to the done column. So this is a very simple setup. Of course, you may have additional columns depending on the environment you work in, but this one with 3 columns, it's a very good starting point, and it captures the essence of a Kanban. By the way, the word Kanban in Japanese means board, as in billboard. So when we call it sometimes Kanban board, we're basically calling it the board. So the Kanban method has been around for quite a while. It was actually invented in Japan in the 1950s by Taiichi Ohno, who was looking for ways to make the production lines at Toyota more efficient. And it's a method which is now very popular in many other industries, in particular software production. And because of this popularity, there are dozens of apps out there which are based on a Kanban workflow. Apps like Trello, Notion, ClickUp, and so on. Even Apple reminders can work in a Kanban way. But all these apps come with very useful features which are also very distracting. So today, we're going back to the basics. We're creating a personal Kanban using a very simple tool, Stickies on a Mac. And this system has one unique benefit, which is when you switch off your computer in the evening, your tasks cannot follow you to dinner or to cinema or to bed. And this is an age when we are constantly bombarded by notifications. I think it's a huge plus. Let me show you around. I've placed all the cards, all the things that I want to do, one per card, one per sticky, in this column. This is the to-do column that we've discussed earlier on. It contains the full list of things that I want to work on. And then there are 2 other columns here that we've already discussed. One is in progress, where I'm going to move things that I'm actually working on, and the completed column, to which I'm going to drag all the cards that are completed. All the tasks that I've completed will end up in this column, maybe with some closure notes. And then I've added another couple of columns that suit my personal workflow. One is called Today, in which I pre-select a few of these tasks so that I don't have to scan the entire list basically when I want to pick the next one to work on. So I pick 2, 3, or 4 that will go to my Today column. And then I have a column called Waiting, in which I'm going to park the tasks, the cards, that I cannot complete until someone does something for me. And then I have these swim lanes. These are not part of the Kanban method, but they are very useful to separate tasks in different categories, especially when you have lots of tasks that you want to complete. So in this case, I've got one for work, one for family, and one for personal things. The overall principle here is that when I select something that I want to work on, for example, I may say that I want to take this one and I want to schedule a doctor's appointment for my kids, and then I need to maybe submit this project by Thursday, and then maybe I want to update my financial plan. I move these cards to the Today column so that I know that I'm going to be focusing on those before fishing for more tasks in the To-Do column. And by the way, I can change the color of these post-it notes by going to this menu, color, and maybe choosing yellow. Or, as you've seen, there are some very convenient shortcuts for this. So I know that Command 1 will give me yellow. So I can press Command 1 on this note and Command 1 on this note. During the day, I may want to add additional tasks, things that I need to do. So what I do, I press Command N to create a new note. And as you can see, it's giving me this generic yellow note. But I've got my notes in this color and in this shape. So I'm going to close this one. And by the way, you can see that there is a button here to close it. I'm going to click on this one. I'm going to click on this particular card. And I'm going to choose Window and then Use as Default. From now on, every time I press Command N, it's going to give me another card that looks like this one. And this applies to everything which is in that card, including the font, which you can change, as I'm going to show you in a second. And so I can jot down a new task that I need to complete and keep it in this list. For work, it could be to prepare a presentation. By the way, as I said, there are things you can change to format the note. For example, you can select a word and press Command B to make it bold. Or you can maybe select another word and press Command T to show the font window. And with this, you can even change the font style to maybe another font completely. Maybe you can click here and change the color, make it blue, and so on. You can basically customize the content of your notes the way you want. Let me close this, Command W. And there are additional formatting options in the menu. So for example, if I click on Prepare and I right-click, I can go to Font, Highlight, and choose one of the highlighters as you would do in Apple Notes, for example. I can make this one blue. And now this word, or maybe an entire sentence, is highlighted. You can explore the interface here, but it gives you really, especially considering the age of this app, a wide range of customizations that you can add to your notes. It is even possible to change the alignment of this text using a little trick. This is not possible in the stickies, but if you copy the text, Command C, then you open Text Edit, and you paste your text in Text Edit, you can select it and change the alignment maybe to center. Look at what happens. You can then copy it and paste it onto your card, and it'll be now centered. And if I enlarge this card, it will stay centered. And this is quite strange, the fact that this is not possible on stickies, but if you copy something like that and you paste it in stickies, it's actually able to show it. But now you know this little trick. Another thing that is possible to do in stickies is to drag some content. For example, emails. So if you want to jot down the task to respond to an email, what you can do is this. You click on Command N to create a new sticky. Then you grab an email from your email program, Apple Mail, for example, and you simply drag it across. So this one is now a task on my list. And when I'm ready to do this thing, I can simply pick it up, read the email, and do something with it, depending on its content. And by the way, once you've inserted an email into one of your notes, like in this case, for example, if you click on it, you go straight to your email. So now I'm going to close this note by clicking on this. And by the way, this title, this little bar at the top, contains some additional options. For example, this button here closes the note. And if the note is not empty, it will give you the possibility to save the note as a text file wherever you want on your computer before it gets deleted. I'm going to cancel this. On this top bar, there are also another couple of options. This little square here compresses the sticky to its header. It becomes really thin, but it's very useful if you have so many notes on your screen, like so. And you can see that the first line is still visible here, so you know what this is about. And when you click again on it, it will re-expand. By the way, the same thing you could achieve by double-clicking on the bar. Double-click and double-click. This little triangle here expands the note to the entire screen, so it becomes probably even too much. But if you want, you can click on it, and it expands, maybe if you need to take lots of notes. If you go to the window, you select one little note, and you go to window, you can make it float on top. And this may be useful if you're researching something, maybe you've got your browser open and other windows, and you want to keep this thing on top to be able to take notes. So once I've selected a few items and I've placed them on my today list, I can then pick one of them and start working on it. So let's say I want to tackle this one, schedule a doctor's appointment for my kids. I'm going to move it to in progress. I'll make my phone call, maybe to try and arrange the appointment. And let's assume that the doctor is now going to call me to confirm the appointment. In this case, I can move it to waiting, and I know that there is something I need to chase at some point if the doctor hasn't called me back. The second one submits the project report for by Thursday, could be here, and I start working on it, and when it's complete, I will move it across to completed. And the same thing for the complete financial plan. I move it here, I start working on it, it may take a day or two or whatever, and then I will finally move it to the complete stage when I'm done with it. By the way, I can change the color of these cards so that they look like their column. So in this case, I can make it red, which is Command 4. And in these two cases, I can make them green, Command 3, and Command 3. Of course, at some point, there could be something that needs to go onto your calendar, because these are tasks at the end of the day, but there could be appointments. So let's say, for example, you want to tackle this call to your grandparents. You move it to in progress, you schedule a time for them if you want to arrange something, you place that in your calendar, and once you've had that conversation, it moves to the completed column. For the time being, it stays in the in progress column because you've started the process, you are actively working on it, even if you're basically now waiting for the call to happen in a few days. The same happens with your clients, friends, and so on. So it stays in your calendar, it stays in the in progress column, and then once you finally have your call with your parents, you move it here, and you can make it green. Over time, you will accumulate lots of things in the completed section, hopefully lots of tasks that you complete. In that case, to save space, you can either delete those notes, maybe saving them first, or you can simply compress them. So you can keep track of the things you've achieved, but they don't take up so much space. And I'm simply going to move them together so I don't forget what I've done. Of course, for better organization, especially if you have lots of tasks on your Kanban, when you move things from a certain swim lane, you try to keep them in the same swim lane. So for example, this thing, I wouldn't normally move here if I had lots of tasks, I would move it here. So in the today column, but in the family swim lane. Anyway, this is an attempt not to show how the Kanban works, but to demonstrate that in this day and age of notifications and constant pings and so on, we don't have to be connected all the time. There is still a way to be on top of your tasks without the overwhelm. And it's probably an important step in restoring that work-life balance, which is so important these days. I hope you liked it. See you in the next video.